Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. Let read together. Have fun. Eunuch Gao, who had a good grasp of Li Yunjing's personality, was baffled by this situation as well. When the inner attendants waited on the young emperor, he would vent his anger on them. As his subordinates, they had no choice but to accept this treatment without any complaints. Was the young emperor suppressing his anger? Zhou walked to the main seat and lifted his robes slightly before he sat down. Yu Shangrong, Yu Zhenghai, and the others then took their seats behind Zhou. Zhou stroked his beard as he scanned the crowd before he called out, Li Yunjing. Li Yunjing felt even more awkward now. He thought, I'm the monarch, after all. Can you give me some face? Although we've met twice, have been honest with each other, and I think we're on good terms, can you please not address me by my name in front of so many people? In the end, Li Yunjing said, What is it, old mister? The breeze is strong there. The spot next to me is better. Come. I'd like to have a nice chat with you, Zhou said as he pointed at the seat next to him. At this moment, Eunuch Gao looked at a minor eunuch next to him meaningfully. The minor eunuch shuddered. It seemed like he was not bold enough to do whatever Eunuch Gao had signaled him to do. However, when he saw the expression on Eunuch Gao's face again, he had no choice but to slam his hands down on the table as he rose to his feet. Thump. The minor eunuch mustered up his courage and said indignantly, How dare you speak so rudely to the emperor? Zhou continued to stroke his beard with a calm expression on his face as he waited for Li Yunjing to sit next to him. Li Yunjing frowned. He turned around and said, Don't be rude to the old mister. The minor eunuch hurriedly bowed and said, Your Majesty, this is the etiquette between a ruler and his subjects. No one is exempt from it. How is your Majesty going to rule the lands if you let this transgression go? The minor eunuch's words that were filled with righteous indignation were clearly meant for Zhou's ears. These words were, naturally, in line with Wang Shizhong and Eunuch Gao's thoughts. Both of them looked slightly pleased at this moment. Zhou remained silent as he continued to point at the seat next to him. At this moment, Li Yunjing turned around and barked, Impudent. Eunuch Gao was stunned again. Is this young emperor confused about his position? The soldiers standing at the back were confused as well. The minor eunuch no longer dared to speak as he bowed. Li Yunjing turned to address Eunuch Gao. Did you train this person? Eunuch Gao, how should someone who disobeyed the monarch be punished? Eunuch Gao stood up with a frown on his face. Although he did not understand the young emperor's sudden change in behavior, he could only bow and say, Your Majesty, I'll personally punish him. Then, Eunuch Gao raised his right hand that was glowing red. You. The minor eunuch was shocked. He was about to squeal in fear when the red palm struck his chest. He was helpless to fight back. With just a palm strike, his internal organs were heavily damaged, causing him to die. The people behind Eunuch Gao retreated, stunned. The people from the palace and the Sky Marshal Court were stunned. Did they not come here for a peaceful discussion? They were not even here for long, and yet, one of their own had died. Moreover, it was by the hands of another one of their own. After Eunuch Gao withdrew his hand, he looked at Li Yunjing and said, Your Majesty, forgive me for not disciplining him strictly. I've already executed this impudent fool. This will serve as a warning to the others. Li Yunjing. Eunuch Gao had overstepped his boundaries more than one time. This was one of the reasons Li Yunjing disliked him. However, he did not expect that Eunuch Gao would kill someone in public. Is this his way of asserting dominance for me? Zhou finally said, That was impressive. Eunuch Gao cupped his fists at Zhou. It was nothing. This is Cloud Mountain, not the palace. If you killed that person as a show of power to me, I'm sorry to tell you that you're sorely mistaken. You were still playing with dir when I started killing people. After Zhou said those words, he waved his hand and added, Li Yunjing, are you going to make me wait forever? Compared to Eunuch Gao and the others who tried to pressure him with subtle means, Li Yunjing preferred Zhou's bluntness. He rose to his feet and walked over to Zhou. Since eunuch Gao's plan had been foiled, he could only sit down with a sour expression on his face. He said harshly to the people behind him, "Why are you standing there? Clean this up." Understood. 2 soldiers hurried forward and carried the minor eunuch's corpse onto the flying chariot. Li Yunzheng sat next to Lu Zhou. Lu Zhou shook his head as he said, "As a monarch, you should also look the part. Do you still remember what I told you?" Li Yunzheng forced a smile on his face. Wang Shizhong and eunuch Gao were stunned. They've met? What did they speak about? Lu Zhou remained silent. Initially, Li Yunzheng felt uncomfortable. No matter what, he was still the emperor. It was out of place for someone to call him over. However, after thinking about it for a moment, he thought there was no reason for him to feel embarrassed. After all, Wang Shizhong, eunuch Gao, the soldiers, attendants, and the others had always mocked him behind his back. Even the palace girls dared to speak ill of him. Monarch? No, he was nothing more than the subject of ridicule for the inhabitants of the palace. Since things were like this, why should he feel embarrassed by the old mister's treatment? At least, the old mister was worthy compared to those despicable people. With his expression gradually returned to normal when he turned around to face the others. After a beat, Li Yunzheng said to Lu Zhou without beating around the bush, "Old mister, I'm sure that you're aware of my reason for being here." Yes, Lu Zhou stroked his beard as he said, "However, I've already spoken to the Sky Martial Court's Mo Bayan. Considering your identity as the emperor, I'll repeat my words again. If you want me to free the Sky Martial Court disciples, tell Yu Qinshu to come here. You're the ruler of an empire, you should know your priorities," Lu Zhou said as he swept his gaze across the others. His tone and behavior were similar to that of a teacher. To eunuch Gao and Wang Shizhong's ears, Lu Zhou's words sounded grating. However, to Li Yunzheng, he found Lu Zhou's words reasonable. That's right. I'm the emperor. Why do I have to stoop so low and personally demand the release of some sect's disciples? At this moment, Wang Shizhong shook his head and said, "Senior Lu. Who are you?" Lu Zhou interjected before Wang Shizhong finished speaking. Head of the Secretariat, Wang Shizhong. Wang Shizhong was more than happy to announce his name and office. Head of the Secretariat. This means he's the Prime Minister. No wonder he's so composed and is able to talk so calmly. Wang Shizhong said, "The Sky Martial Court is affiliated with the Royal Court. Moreover, they're loyal to the palace. The courtmaster, Yu Qinshu, is His Majesty's trusted servant. Since His Majesty has personally come. Senior Lu, if you'd just consider this sincerity." Lu Zhou raised his hand to stop Wang Shizhong from speaking. "Did you not understand what I just said?" Wang Shizhong frowned. He did not expect the old man to be so stubborn. "What I said is what will be," Lu Zhou said. At this moment, Nie Qingyun steeled himself and chimed in confidently, "Senior Lu has already made himself clear. Prime Minister Wang, there's no need for me to speak." The more Wang Shizhong listened to this, the more he found the situation strange. However, he dared not let his guard down. He continued to say, "I can guarantee that whatever courtmaster you had promised for the release of his disciples, His Majesty and I will match it." After he finished speaking, he waved his hand. Then, the soldiers behind Wang Shizhong carried several boxes onto the cloud platform. The number of boxes was 3 times greater than before. Li Yunzheng asked in confusion, "Old mister, why must courtmaster Yu personally come?" Before Lu Zhou replied, Zhenghai scoffed and said, before Lu Zhou could say anything, Zhenghai scoffed and said, "He's not dead, so why isn't he here? Isn't he being arrogant?" Wang Shizhong said, "Senior Lu, if I may?" Lu Zhou looked at the boxes. He expected them to be filled with full talismans. Hence, he said, "What is it?" "Courtmaster Yu holds an important post. Lately, we've discovered the presence of hidden elites with unclear origins. Those elites killed many of the capital's elites. Courtmaster Yu has to look after the Sky Martial Court and can't just leave on a whim. That's why he requested His Majesty to personally negotiate," Wang Shizhong explained. I thought the Sky Martial Court is filled with elites. So there are times that they're afraid as well? Zhenghai asked. Wang Shizhong said, many of the Sky Martial Court's elites are sent to the 10 circuits of Great Tang. It's rather difficult to gather all of them in a place. To be honest, we're not only here for the release of the Sky Martial Court disciples. There's another matter as well. What is it? Zhou could tell the person before him held more power than it seemed. There might be better benefits behind this person. He could guess some matters based on how silent Li Yunjing was. Zhou preferred to deal with someone who would keep his word. Unfortunately, Li Yunjing was just a puppet emperor with no authority to speak of. Wang Shizhong said, Senior Liu, you're from the Golden Lotus domain, am I right? The others looked up. Eunuch Gao looked slightly taken aback as he looked at Wang Shizhong. Zhou did not admit nor deny it. He only kept his eyes on Wang Shizhong. Wang Shizhong continued to say, the two domains are now connected. I believe that you didn't come all the way here across the endless ocean to invade and conquer Great Tang. Ever since the Sky Martial Court started researching the other worlds, they built the water shuttle, the sky shuttle, the flying chariot, the red ship, and other transporters. We can enter and leave the Golden Lotus domain as we please. The Red Lotus domain has already obtained basic information about the Golden Lotus domain 300 years ago. Within 3 centuries, the growth of the Golden Lotus domain is truly incredible. However, from what I know, there was a limit to the cultivation in the Golden Lotus domain. Nobody could reach the 9-leaf stage. Then, a new cultivation theory emerged, and people began to severe the lotuses. Since the emergence of this method, the Golden Lotus domain progressed swiftly and produced more 9-leaf cultivators. Even so, the overall strength of the Golden Lotus domain is still a far cry from the Red Lotus domain. Then, he paused for a moment as he looked at Zhou and asked, Am I right, Senior Liu? Zhou did not pay attention to Wang Shizhong. Instead, he looked at Li Yunjing and asked, You're the emperor. What do you think? Li Yunjing pointed at himself. You're asking, me? When Li Yunjing saw everyone looking at him, he suddenly felt like a true emperor governing the lands. He said confidently, in my opinion, although the two domains are connected, we shouldn't interfere in each other's affairs. We shouldn't kill or invade. Whether it's the Red Lotus domain or the Golden Lotus domain, we're all humans. From the old books, I've read that humans have been plagued by beasts in the past. The books clearly said that even the most powerful experts aren't a match for the beasts. The people won't be able to live peacefully, and people's cultivation base would suffer. The books have also said. At this moment, Eunuch Gao interjected with his sharp voice, Your Majesty, these matters have nothing to do with the negotiations today. Please keep your words direct and simple. Li Yunjing did not continue speaking. Not only did he not lose his temper like before, but he grew even calmer. He was not sure what came over him. He recalled Zhou's words and rose to his feet before he said evenly, Bring me a saber. Your Majesty, your hands don't even have the strength to kill a chicken, what are you going to do with a saber? Li Yunjing said solemnly, Do I need your opinion if I want my saber? Meanwhile, Wang Shizhong was intrigued. He wanted to see what the young emperor would do, so he waved his hand and said, Give His Majesty a saber. Understood. Soon after, a soldier respectfully presented his own saber to the emperor. When Li Yunjing picked up the saber, he nearly lost his footing. Upon seeing this, some of the minor eunuchs covered their mouths and snickered. Li Yunjing remained calm. He looked at Zhou and said, Old mister, you said that I should remove everyone who stands in my way, right? That's right, Zhou said. For someone like me. Someone who can't even hold a saber straight. How am I supposed to remove them? Li Yunjing asked the same question he had asked in Ganlu Hall that night. This time, there was a hint of urgency to Li Yunjing's question. He needed answers. However, vague answers would not help him get out of his current predicament. The sky above Cloud Mountain was clear, and the air was fresh. However, it felt difficult to breathe. At this moment, Eunuch Gao raised a pot on the table with a disapproving expression on his face as he poured himself a drink. Drip. Soon enough, tea filled the wine cup. Eunuch Gao raised the cup to his lips and finished the tea in a gulp. He placed the cup back on the table with a loud thud. Just like that, the wine cup sank half an inch into the table. Nobody knew what was going through the young emperor's mind at this moment, and nobody cared as well. After all, they were used to situations like this. However, sometimes the most mundane things, when repeated too often, would become the straw that broke the camel's back. Zhou stroked his beard and nodded. I stand by my words. Do what you can. Li Yunzheng. Eunuch Gao smiled with a hint of smugness. The palace girls and the eunuchs standing behind Eunuch Gao watched with bright eyes, clearly eager to watch the show. Eunuch Gao said, Please stay your anger, your majesty. We must prioritize the greater picture. Li Yunzheng raised the saber and walked to Eunuch Gao. He said in a voice seething in anger, Gao Xuan, you've overstepped your bounds too many times and deceived your monarch. I'll cut you down today. Then, he raised the saber with both hands and brought it down toward Eunuch Gao. Eunuch Gao's expression was dismissive and disapproving as he raised his hand and caught the saber with 2 fingers. As expected. Li Yunzheng expected as much. He felt his heart sink. Eunuch Gao smiled and apologized. Please stay your anger, your majesty. I'll atone for this when we return to the palace. We're now outside. Why must we make a fool of ourselves? At this moment, Li Yunzheng felt that he could not be humiliated any further. He had been so cowardly in the palace for so many years. Would there be a difference if he acted cowardly now? He tried to pick a saber up and brought it down on another person, but it made no difference. At this moment, Zhou finally said, Did you try your best? Li Yunzheng put some strength into his arms and tightened his grip around the hilt of the saber. Compared to a cultivator, his strength was negligible. Your Majesty. Eunuch Gao raised his voice. If this dragged on, their plan for this trip would go down the drain. What's gotten into this young emperor today? At this moment, Zhou said tonelessly, impudent. He raised his palm, his fingers glowed blue. A blue palm seal faintly brushed past Li Yunzheng's shoulder. Bam! The palm seal struck the back of the saber, pushing the saber out. Just like that, the saber severed 3 of Eunuch Gao's fingers. Li Yunzheng was stunned. His hands that were holding the saber shook. Clang! The saber dropped to the ground.